Hi, welcome to the first PetWise chat of the year of 2021. So we made it through 2020, and hopefully everyone on your end is doing well. It was a rough year, but it was also a year of opportunities in many ways, where we were forced to change some things that maybe weren't serving us, but they were things that were comfortable and routine. And to be thrown into a situation where you're forced to change a routine can be really, it makes you feel ungrounded. So I think a lot of us were in this whirlwind for most of the year of changing our routines. And some of us, a lot of us, I feel like, really persevered and found new ways to do things that work for us and that help us communicate. And I think the biggest thing that I learned from this past year is how important community is. And community is, I think as pet lovers and pet people, we tend to veer towards the we love animal side, and maybe the people are secondary. At least that's in my case. But I love people and chatting with people and having really good conversations and learning. And my animals help bring me to people who have similar thoughts and ideas, and maybe not so similar thoughts and ideas, but we have a baseline of understanding and a baseline of something that we all enjoy, and that's being with our pets. So I feel like that sense of community is something that we were all really trying to get back to during this past year. So hopefully that's for you also, and that you found some ways to create that community, even in this virtual world that we seem to be living in. And I was just looking this morning before I started the chat. My friend Sarah is a yoga teacher, and she creates these beautiful kind of intention cards. It's a deck of cards, and I had this one out today, and it's Kamala. And what this is a yantra. It's a geometric form of an intention of usually of a goddess, and what that goddess it brings about. If you concentrate on it, certain qualities that you want to bring into your life. So Kamala is fulfillment. And it says here on the card to be content, live your best life, not someone else's, voice your dreams, and enjoy being you. And this is like complete pet. What do they do? They live in contentment. They really are looking to get that contentment. And they enjoy being themselves when they're able to. So I think we all provide that place for them. If you want those cards, let me know. I'll put you in touch with Sarah. So to get started, we have a few questions for today, and it's also pet training month. It's dog training month, but I think it's people training month actually. So I have a series of videos that I've been sending out in the membership newsletter. If you feel like you want your friends to see it, have them either join the membership, or I might be creating a separate course for this. So I'll let everyone know when that comes out. Let's see, our first question is, I'll have to give you some background, but the first question is, Happy New Year. So with Pearl is a cat. Everything is normal, but the hair loss. Things started getting bad and then started getting better, and now bad again. I've been doing CBD every other day. I wish I knew what to do. Any other suggestions? So the background to that is Pearl is a cat who started losing hair on the back of her legs, and they'd been to the vet, and the vet ran all kinds of tests to make sure it wasn't some kind of deficiency or something else going on. Sometimes with certain chronic diseases, you can see hair loss. She was checked for things like arthritis, just to see if there's any pain anywhere. So usually what you do for a pet like that is, of course, blood work is useful in that case. So I would suggest going to the vet and getting some blood work. And you don't have to let them talk you into doing all these other things or even medication. This owner actually had the blood work done just so that for their own knowledge to know where they're at. The doctor gave them a prescription for Prozac because the blood work came back okay. There were no thyroid deficiencies, no diabetes that they could see, no kidney dysfunction, no liver dysfunction. They couldn't really find anything. So that was ruling out any major complications that would be obvious. Then cats are hard to assess at the veterinary office. They didn't think there was any pain going on anywhere. And the hair loss was bilateral, which means it was on both sides. So that means that most likely if there's pain, you won't see hair loss or any kind of thing on both sides. You'd see it a little lopsided from one side to the other. So if this cat was licking because it had discomfort, usually just be like, usually at a joint somewhere. This was actually on the legs, the back legs, and then it spread to the belly. It started moving up the cat progressively. So they ruled those things out. I don't know if they checked for vitamin B deficiency. I'm not sure. And so the cat was basically, they couldn't find anything obvious. So they said it was behavioral and put the cat on Prozac. So this owner decided that they did not want to go in that direction right now. They felt like that was the pinnacle. If there was no other option and the cat was in a lot of discomfort, they would do that. So they called me and I went and looked. We went over food. They're adding omega-3 fat to the fish oils because that could also help the cat to process certain nutrients and to add some fat to the diet, which cats are usually missing. Protein and fats are usually missing in cat diets. So that is a first recommendation, and that takes time. I would give that about 6 weeks before seeing any real improvements. And then she had CBD. So after that first visit, that was the first thing that she started doing, is trying some CBD on the cat. And a little backstory is, as we talk, you know, I can see the cat in her environment, and she's a shy cat. She tended to hide, but she did let me pet her and examine her, and kind of, she got comfortable around me. So, but the cat had a little bit of a nervous mannerism to it. So we talked about, they were going to move, and they were packing up, and people were coming to look at the house while the cats are home, with a real estate agent coming in with people. So this may have triggered something in the cat. Also, you know, when they watch you, our pets know what's going on when we're doing things. So this cat was watching the owner change things around the house. It might have been very subtle, maybe in the discussions that they're having in the house about the sale. Maybe there's a little bit of tension. I think there was some construction going on outside somewhere. Excuse me. So that was maybe a little bit contributing to this also. So she tried the CBD, and things seemed to get better. So I hadn't heard from them for a while, and things were looking better. And then this started up again in November, where the hair loss started again happening. So, you know, to me, either something else is triggering the cat in the environment, a stress factor, or stress combined with the dryness of winter. So November, winter is really kicking in my part of the world, on the eastern part of the United States. So that winter dryness that we have, we also in my area in New Jersey, it's very damp. It's a damp wet that gets into your system. So this could have been starting some kind of allergies. They had not done any allergy testing, and that was maybe going to be another step that they took. But looking at diet, so maybe some diet changes, and adding some things that way. So it started again in November, and then it got a little bit better. And they were still doing the CBD every other day. They seemed like every day was a little too much for this cat, and it made the cat a little bit groggy. So then I just got a question this week about the hair loss is starting again. So it got better, then it got worse again in November, then it got better in December, and now it's worse again. So there's a cycle going on here. So what I would suggest is starting to go back, and these are one of the most frustrating things because the cat can't really tell you if they're itchy or what they're feeling. You have to look for body language and start really looking at your day and examining it. And even keeping a journal, I feel like at this point, because there are cycles going on here. So keeping a journal whenever your pet starts up with something is a really great thing. Or even taking little videos of your pet, maybe on the first of the month, you take a little video of your pet and you just kind of give a synopsis of what was going on that previous month and what you're seeing with them. And then you can kind of go back and track what's going on. So I feel like this cat is maybe going through a seasonal change. There might be a little bit of allergy, a little bit of stress going on. And my first suggestion at this point is maybe there's a little bit of a nutrition deficiency somewhere minor, like a mineral deficiency that's just not quite being met, and that can't really be tested for easily. Maybe a B vitamin deficiency, which is pretty common. And all of those deficiencies can cause stress in the gut, which would cause the cat not to be able to really process food well. And then the organs, the liver and the kidneys, will have to deal with that unprocessed food because it's not processed well, so it turns into something that the kidneys and liver have to process more. So those organs might be taxed a little bit and you might have to support them. So my first suggestion that's really easy is maybe to add something like sea meal. It's a product. It's actually called sea meal, SEAMEAL. And I would add that, and it comes in a little container. You can get it anywhere online or in your pet stores. Most pet stores sell it. And what it is crushed up like algae and sea meal, seaweed. I find like this can be very helpful in skin issues for pets and allergy issues and in minor things like that. And just adding back a little bit of mineral that could be missing. So you sprinkle it on their food. They usually like it because it has a fishy taste and smell to it. So I would try that. I would maybe, depending on the CBD that they're using, I might look into maybe switching up the CBD. Maybe that CBD is not quite the right one. We talked about CBD before. We have a section in the PetWise membership where the CBD types, the different plant types, it might not just be getting that one behavioral. I find like the CBDs are best for calming and for anxiety. So this one might not be working great. So maybe looking at that. And the other thing for skin issues, if it winds up really being something with skin or hair loss, it's hard to tell where this is coming from. Again, I think it might be gut. So making sure that this cat is getting, maybe a diet change, maybe a little bit of a, transition diet change, feeding a little bit more natural and maybe basic. If you want to do like if you're doing an allergic diet change, you really have to go full blown for 6 weeks where it's no extra anything. You can't be giving extra snacks. If they're getting certain medications that have flavoring in them, you can't be doing that. You really have to kind of narrow it down to one specific food that is really basic in its ingredients. So it can't have that big list of ingredients with all those things in it. There are things called hydrolyzed foods that are very expensive, and basically they're taking, it's a commercial food that you get through your veterinarian. And it's taking it's breaking down the particles of the food and the molecules, it's making them smaller and smaller so it's easier for the gut to process. But you can also just, do your own trial, and you could get either, in my area, there's a poultry farm that makes patties that has organ meat in it, has bone in it. You can just get the plain one, but it's chicken. And a lot of pets can have like a really mild reaction to chicken. If that's the only thing in their diet all the time. If you're mixing it with different types of protein sources like beef or turkey or rabbit or some other things, sometimes some Australian diets have some things animals that we don't even see in this part of the world. So you might want to try doing that and switching up some diets where every maybe 3 days you change the protein source. Maybe get away from chicken if that's the main source, get away from dry food for a little bit, and just try to see if those things help at all. Again, it's long-term, so you have to have some patience with it. And try to be as consistent as you can. And then start examining your surroundings and what's going on in your life and see if there's anything triggering your pet to be more nervous. The other thing that I would maybe be trying, you don't want to do too many things at once. So try the sea meal, start looking, keeping a journal, start looking to see if there's anything environmental or anything in the surroundings or any stress factors for your cat. And things like humidifiers in the winter can be helpful. Sometimes air purifiers can be really helpful for pets with mild allergies. And then horsetail. So horsetail is a weed outside, usually found along roadsides in the country mostly, but it looks like almost like a little tiny pine tree. And you can buy it commercially dried. You can probably buy preparations of it also, but I would recommend you can get it dried and making a tea. And what horsetail does, it supports, it has silica in it. It's one of the herbs with the highest amounts of silica in it. And it supports healthy hair growth and things like nail growth and skin. So you might want to try adding that. You only want to do a little bit. You don't want to go overboard with the horsetail. So what you would do is make an infusion, and I have those videos in the membership area. And you make an infusion of it, which is a stronger brew of it, where you're brewing it for 4 to 12 hours. So it's not just a tea. You have to really make a strong brew. Then you can get the herb out of it, and you can strain it and then put it in the fridge and keep it in the fridge. And if you're only using it for a cat, you only need like a very small amount, because you're only going to use about maybe a tablespoon a day. If you want, you can use it for yourself. You can drink a little bit. I know people who use it as a hair rinse for their pets or for themselves. So horsetail might be something that you might want to look into or keep in mind if these other things don't work. So I hope that helps for that, and I hope Pearl feels better. Let's see, our next question is, is about a dog, and I see this quite often. Since last week, Wilhelm has not been holding up his tail. It's been between his legs, and we don't see anything else wrong. So Wilhelm is a dachshund, and this is important to know because certain breeds can have certain things where in your mind you start going through what could this breed have that might be a little bit different from another breed having. So this is a dachshund who's holding his tail between his legs. He's pretty active. And the first thing I start thinking about is, does he have some kind of mild spinal issue going on? So my first questions when I think about this is he dragging any feet? Does he have any pain? Is he positioning normally when he goes to the bathroom outside? So if it's a girl, they'd be squatting. And if they can't do that squatting position, that might lead you to think there's an orthopedic problem in the lower spine. If it's a dog, if they normally lift their leg, are they lifting their leg normally? Are there any changes when they're squatting to poop? Are they even able to do that anymore? So I would recommend really watching that and seeing. My next question is, since I'm not able to put my hands on them right now, are they able to wag their tail? Is there something, are they not wagging it? And if that's the case, there is a condition called swimmer's tail, which sounds kind of mild, but actually it's a really painful condition. And certain dogs, mostly dogs that are more in the retriever kind of breed, will get this condition, and they usually get it after either running, and it's called swimmer's tail because if they are retrievers and doing hunting work, or if they're swimming, they fatigue a ligament, and they get it's like a painful inflammation in their back end, and their tail just drops, and it just kind of dangles, and it's painful. So if this dog seems like it has pain, that could be one of the things. And what I would recommend in either case, because this one seemed kind of mild and he seemed okay otherwise, but is to first limit his jumping and walking. So really monitoring him if he has to use any stairs, either carrying him up and down the stairs really gently. You want to support his spine. So he's probably a little bit of a longer dog. So you want to really, I'll do a demo on my dog in a minute, but you want to support his whole body. And then carry him up and down stairs. Don't let him jump on things. You want to monitor if he's jumping on a chair or a couch or jumping off. You want to try to anticipate and lift him or lower him down. It's best if you can keep him from jumping at all, but I know dogs want to get on the couch. They're smarter than we are sometimes. So really monitor for that and let it rest. You want to rest that area. You can try to palpate for pain, but I find like that's really difficult for pet owners to do because it's also hard for veterinarians because some dogs guard, and orthopedic doctors are pretty skilled at it because this is what they do all day. They see hundreds of pets a week with things like this. For a pet owner, it can be hard. I'll get my dog in a minute to show you some basic things you can do. But if they're not crying out, if they're eating okay, if they seem to be walking okay, and their legs are moving okay, and there's no dragging of the feet, and they're positioning okay, what I would do first is get some arnica cream and just put it on the back area by the hip area and right above the tail. Those are really strong acupressure points, and just specific, the hips are right there, the spine down there can have some issues. Dachshunds tend to get disc issues, so ruptured discs. So I worry that this dog might have some inflammation. It doesn't sound like a disc issue because they're not down in the back end and they're not dragging, but you want to be mindful that dachshunds can have these issues as they get older. And a lot of times they'll start limping on a front leg, which first you would check and make sure there's not any physically wrong with their paw. If they sometimes have an acorn or a stone stuck or something with their nail. If there's nothing there, it sometimes is the neck and not really the leg. And it looks like they're limping because they hurt their leg, but it's a neck issue. So wherever you think they're having an issue, put arnica right away. Arnica is used best in an acute situation where there's actually inflammation going on. Because what it does is, the properties of it, if there's two cells and it's communicating pain between them, it breaks that communication at a certain point. So the arnica would help with it would help relieve it. And you need to, anything homeopathic, which arnica is homeopathic, you need to reapply every few hours for acute situations. If it's chronic arthritis, you can put it on once or twice a day as needed. The other thing I would do is, if you have arnica pills or tea relief, that's T-relief, you can get that online. They make one specifically for pets, labeled for pets, so that you can be sure that you're giving the right doses of it. That's homeopathic arnica also, with some other things added in for inflammation. So you could also give arnica to try to internally stop any inflammation, and then externally with the arnica. There is a video that I have about keeping your pet warm in the winter. So things like putting heat on the area, either warming a wet washcloth and putting it in the microwave, and just some really gentle heat, enough where your pet doesn't feel discomfort. A heating blanket, but keep your pet supervised and make sure they can move away from it, so you don't want to burn them with it. But any kind of gentle heat, or even just rubbing your hands and putting it on the area and just holding it there for 5 minutes, and just keep doing that. And just your hand warmth, if you do that to yourself, you can really feel you have your own warmth that you generate for your pet. So I think things like that are helpful. Maybe putting if your pet has a coat or a blanket, putting a blanket over them just to provide some warmth, because it's winter now, it's cold. If you have a dog that goes out in the cold or is cold all the time, they're holding their muscles, and the muscles start to tense, and it can cause problems with ligaments and joints, and you need to relieve those muscles. And the best and quickest way is with heat in the winter. So test out and see if your dog likes the heat. If they really like it, then it might indicate there might be some stiffness in the joints that they're feeling. What are some other things? Let me see if this works. I'm going to move over and see if I can show you on my dog what I would do to just do a quick exam. And I hope this sound sometimes gets a little wonky, but I'm going to see if we can do this here. Okay, so come along. Let's see if I can get him. He's in the window watching. I don't know what he's watching for, but he's guarding. Okay, so let's see who's going to come. Come on. All right, I think he's a little camera shy. So I'm going to see. Come here, Paco. Oh, here we go. We got 2 takers. Okay, so he knows we're up to something. He's a little camera shy, but so he has dachshund in him. So I do worry about his, oh, you can eat that. I do worry about his neck and his spine. And what I do is I don't pull him. He wears a harness when he's outside, so he is protected with his harness, so I'm not pulling on his neck. Also, I'm very mindful with his harness. It's still pulling on his body, and he is a little bit of a puller on a walk. So I try to use voice commands instead of pulling, and I give a tiny tug. I don't want to pull on his spine, because this is the area that a lot of dogs, and especially dachshunds and beagles, and sometimes Labradors, will get neck pain right up here in their discs. If they get a disc, it will be up here, and that will manifest down the leg. Thank you. Thank you. So what I would do first is to examine him is, you can I can feel tightness because I do a lot of pet exams and therapeutic massages. So I would just feel first and see if there's any tension, and kind of work my way down the spine. Just really, really gentle pressure. And let's see. So you just kind of work your way down on either side of the spine. You could do both at once, but you just kind of work down. And I feel he's got a little bit of tension here. That's just, most animals have tension in this part of their body. I usually feel it. And interestingly, this is the kidney area, which as pets get older, the kidneys really need a lot of support. And if they're holding tension here above the organ of the kidneys, that can be stressful to that organ because there's always tightness in this area. So that's a good place to massage your pet. But this is usually a location of weakness for the spine. And then just down here, actually she's in a better position. Mr. Shy Dog can go away. So this is usually in the back end where you might find some pain. And if she was holding her, if she was holding her tail down, I would try to make sure that she has some kind of tail function. So if I move it, she's moving it back. So I can feel there's a little muscle pull, she's pulling it back with her muscle and its function. It's not just dragging and hanging and flopping around. So that would be good. And, I would just kind of feel for any discomfort here. I would also check them, I would check their legs and make sure there's nothing going on further down, any kind of leg discomfort. But if she feels pretty loose here. Sometimes when you're going down and you do an area like this, they will tell you, they'll either look at you and lick you, and that's a sign of them telling you that doesn't feel great. They're trying to distract you from touching that area. So if I touch her, somewhere where it hurts, so I go slow. She may give a little twitch at some point, and that's like a trigger point, and that means that muscle or ligament is tight. So what you want to do is rub in that area. If they're not letting you rub that exact area, put some arnica on, put a little heat on, and wait a few minutes. And then you want to rub, if they have pain here, you're going to rub either above or below it. So you don't have to do directly on the area right away if it's uncomfortable. What you want to do is rub in the area above or below it and kind of work your way down. If they don't let you do it right then just do above or below it for about 10 minutes. You can do a little warmth with your hands and put it on that area, and then repeat it later. And as you work at it, that should start to loosen up, and they should be feeling better in a few days. If it gets worse, if they're just hanging their tail like this, if they show any signs of pain, if they're dragging their feet where their toes kind of go under and they're just dragging their feet like this, that would be time to really bump it up, where you can either use the artic calves, that would absolutely do something internally with the, and if they completely go down where they can't use their back legs at all, you really need to go and see the veterinarian. That could be like a full-blown disc, and you don't want them to lose feeling in their back. I've had success with some pets who have had that, where the owners did not want to do an MRI. The pets are older, it would have been surgery at that point to correct it. And they started feeling their feet. So we use arnica and other herbs, and they bump it up. And therapeutic massage, and a few other tools, and just really kind of aggressively working that for 2 or 3 weeks and getting and making sure that improving that area as much as you can to get the inflammation down. And it's been successful. What that would do is give you a steroid. And they're trying to do the same thing quickly with that inflammation. And if there's any pain, they might give you something like gabapentin or something to help with the pain. And those would be the medical treatments for that. So either way, they both work. I've seen them both work, but you really need to get really kind of into it and really do a few modalities at once. You can't just give the medication and hope it works, because a lot of times it needs this extra therapeutic massage, whether you can learn to do it yourself and just go really gently, or you can find someone to do it. So, very good. Okay, so Mr. Shy is enjoying his massage. I think that's it. So I'm going to continue this month with some training tips. And again, I'm not a trained trainer, but I work with a lot of pets. And I do a lot of